So I've owned a majority of Claymore for honestly over a year now, and it has literally sat on my shelf the entire time. I put it up there and was like, this is dope, this is great, I'm out, and I just never really touched it past that. And I figured I should finally start this iconic manga series, especially because I also started reading Berserk too, and I plan to do a comparison video because I actually do hear a lot of people compare the two, although I actually don't really think they're similar that much. I think at surface level, they kind of are, but I plan to do a comparison later on, so subscribe for that because I'm going to be reviewing Berserk individually also, and then kind of doing a clash between both series just to see if the similarities are actually true or not, which we'll see. But let's dive into Claymore so I can give you guys my thoughts on this series so far. Now, let me be clear. This video is a I finally started Claymore video. This is not a I finished Claymore video. So I'm not done with this series yet. I'm still reading it. So this is just my impressions on the first 5 volumes of Claymore, if I can get that in focus. So I've read through the first 5 and I have a lot to say. I really did like what I've read so far. So I'm going to break down my overall feelings for the series and then we'll talk about each volume individually and kind of go from there. Now, as of right now, I do really like where the story is going. The first volume I did find to be pretty basic and simple as far as storytelling goes. And within the first volume, we do get a good understanding of the world that we're in and kind of the general premise as to what's going on. Currently, the world is being attacked by these monsters named the Yoma, I believe. And these monsters feed off humans, like they literally like eat people, and then they can also shapeshift and turn into people and hide amongst like civilians, so you really can't tell who they are, which brings in Claymores, which is an organization that is just built up of, I believe, like hunters pretty much, and these hunters are called Claymores, and our main character Claire is a Claymore, big surprise, and these Claymores are specially trained to fight and take down these Yomas and also sense them, because Claymores actually have a bit of Yoma like monster blood and DNA inside of them also, so there's this thing going on where they have the power of the monsters inside them, which allows them to fight them, but they also have to kind of do a give and take as far as not letting the monster energy that's in them like overflow and take over their body pretty much. That might sound kind of complicated, I promise. The way the story explains it and delivers it is really simple. Claire is a Claymore. She has Yoma blood in her. She hunts Yoma, but she can't let the Yoma blood overtake her. Simple. So off rip, her having that Yoma blood inside her makes for kind of a cool storytelling device because we know that she really can't fully reach her top potential or else the monster's gonna just take over what's inside her. So it's kind of this weird locked door situation where eventually that door is gonna come unlocked and we're gonna have to figure that out. So that's kind of a cool plot device within itself. And within the first volume, she meets a boy named Reiki, or Raki, I'm not sure, but it's R-A-K-I, I believe, who decides to tag along with Claire because he senses good and like gentleness inside of her, which, bro, do you see what she's doing to these monsters, dude? Like, you're crazy. But he still tags along with her nonetheless after she saves his village. And that's kind of the premise and jumping off point of the first volume. And I have to say, I do really enjoy Claire. As an MC overall, she's really dope. We don't get a ton of woman-led manga series, let alone like battle shonen. But even then, just action-wise, most of our stories that we get are centered around males. So seeing a story focus more on the women's side is actually really dope. And it's kind of an intriguing premise that we don't typically see. And it's also cool too, because I think some of the battle shonen do a good job at showcasing like women in action and all this stuff. But this one's pretty much centered solely on women in action. So that's pretty cool. Now, I'm obviously not deep enough into the series to do a full review and a full kind of entire grasp of the story, but that's what this video is for. It's a first impression, so don't expect me to dive super deep into the series just yet, because I'm not even that deep into the series just yet, you know? But so far, I like where the story's going. It could take a huge shift, like at volume 10 or something. I'm not sure, but I do like what I've read so far. And since I have read the first 5 volumes, I'm going to be breaking down each volume here and kind of giving my thoughts on the volumes individually. So first up, we got volume 1. This is the cover. Really dope cover art, by the way. I actually love all the covers in this series, to be honest. I also like the way that Shonen Jump designed these covers more with like the volume number in the front there. I just think it's a really clean design, but that's just me. So in volume 1, we get a lot of exposition, obviously, on the basic story that I've already kind of broken down to you. But just to dive a little bit further into that, the book wastes no time in this universe. We literally get in and literally like the first page you open up, there's like a dead kid for sure. Like first page you open up, someone's already dead. Like you're already into the action and the mystery and everything that's going on as soon as you jump in, which I like. I enjoy when books bring what they offer to the table as soon as possible and they don't sit around kind of being pretentious and going over this whole like epic world kind of thing in the beginning, and instead just drop us in where we need to be and then expand from there. My voice is pretty harsh right now, can't lie. Damn. The book is also super easy to follow, which is great. Some older manga, I think just feels a little bit dated as far as some of its storytelling and dialogue. Here, it's spaced out really well. It's not overly dialogue heavy. It also does a good job at letting the action and battle scenes breathe in between them, so you're not seeing like a huge battle and then just tons of plot exposition right after that. I think it does a good job at managing the manga panels and it not feeling so overwhelming too, especially for a first volume. They can really kind of tend to be hit or miss, and I really did enjoy this one. Also, the coolest moment in this one is when she throws the sword. I'll put a panel on screen, but she throws a sword at a Yoma, and it's just really dope. Like, just, you don't expect, like, you expect it, but you're like, she's not gonna do that, but she does it, and that's pretty dope to me. I just love the first volume. It's just upfront, intense, and I'm just really hyped. Just reading this first volume made me so hyped to continue reading past that. And then we also find out that Claire's obviously a super layered MC. She has so much going on that we really don't see up front, but we can kind of get a taste that she just has, pause. But we can kind of figure out that she definitely has some underlying things that we're going to figure out, hopefully, as the series goes on. Overall, I really liked Volume 1. Like I said, it's a great read. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, Volume 2, in my opinion, does even more better stuff than Volume 1. And this is the cover art, just so you can see. Really, this one's awesome. This is like wallpaper worthy. This is so sick. In this volume, Claire has to take pills to basically hide the fact that she is a Claymore, because Claymores have these like super silvery eyes. You can kind of see in the cover there. They have super silvery eyes, so they're really obvious that they're Claymores. So she has to take these pills to kind of hide that, so that way she can enter this religious city basically where Claymores are banned. And it's just done so well. Like, it's just done so well here, because not only do we get this fish out of water scenario with Claire having basically to force herself to be more human-like, we also get to see her pretend to be what she remembers herself being most likely before she was a Claymore. And it's just really dope, because in Volume 1, she's very stoic and kind of dry. And in here, she's a lot more conversational, but it's hard to tell if she's more conversational from a place of just faking it to pretend to look more human, or if she's genuinely kind of just becoming more of herself while she's taking these pills. We just overall see a more human side of Claire, which is really surprising that we're getting it this early in the series, but I just found it really enjoyable. We do get to see Claire take down a more stronger Yoma than we saw in the first volume. We also learn here that the Yoma can take over deceased bodies too, so even the skeletons are not safe. We also see Claire kind of team up with some knights in this religious city to take down the Yoma, and it's really dope. I hope we see more team ups in the future with Claire. It's just really interesting to see someone that's so stoic and kind of lonely work with a team. It's really unique. Or sorry, not unique. That happens a lot, but it's just refreshing in the series, and it's also refreshing to get it so early in Volume 2. And also the coolest part of this volume is when Claire pulls out the Claymore, or the sword, out of the statue. Super dope scene. And then this volume actually ends with that huge battle kind of just coming to like a pause, and then Volume 3 kicks off past where this one leaves off basically. In Volume 3 kicks ass. And I'll show the cover again. You can kind of see here. So this one we get a lot of more information on Claire as a person, which we'll dive into here in a second. In the fight scene that Claire has with the Yoma and that big team up that I was mentioning in the last volume, in here she kind of gets her shit rocked. Like, she gets sliced up, you know? And it's just really interesting to see our MC take such gnarly hits in the third volume, especially because in the first volume she's shown to be so strong. Like, she looks like, wow, like she really knows what to do and how to take care of these Yoma and stuff like that, right? But just in the third one, she's getting her shit rocked. So that's pretty interesting. I just like that the story's not afraid to make the MC look weak this early on in the series. I think a lot of shonen and seinen, whatever, this is on Shonen Jump, so I feel like this has to be shonen, right? Like, whatever. They make their MCs either way too weak, where it's just kind of corny and unfair for the main character, or they make the main character just so OP to where it's kind of like, all right, bro, like, you won, bro. Like, the series is done. Like, why are you here, bro? Claymore just does such a good job at making us feel like our MC is really, really strong, but also reminding us that she's not invincible and she can take hits and she will eventually get knocked down at some point. Overall, the big fight with the Yoma here in the team up is really dope, and it's a pretty big highlight, at least through my read through so far. And then it kind of just ends off on that chapter, and that's like halfway through this volume. And then the rest of the half of this volume, we pick up with a new Claymore. So we take a big kind of drastic shift and we leave Claire and just kind of go do our own thing with this new character named Teresa. And bro, when I say Teresa's intro is dope, her intro is so sick. She comes in pretty much on some future Trunks type shit and literally kills off 7 Yoma, and it's just done with so much ease that it's awesome. She has such a good introduction here. And it's also a big tonal shift because we see Claire having to do a team up with 2 other guys and struggle to take out 1 Yoma, and Teresa takes out 7 pretty much without breaking a single sweat. And to me, it's just really crazy because I thought Claire's story was done. I thought this was actually going to be kind of a weird anthology thing where it's not Claymore like Claire, the Claymore. It's Claymore like the organization. Like this series is focused on the organization of Claymores, and we're just going to get different stories from different Claymore members throughout the series. But they actually tie in Teresa's character into Claire's backstory. And it's done in a way where it kind of subverts my expectations. Like I didn't see that coming, but it's so dope that they actually did that because I like Claire's character. So it's cool that they're bringing in this whole new character of Teresa and tying her into Claire and kind of creating this just bigger bubble of Claire's backstory pretty much. So it's awesome. I love the direction that the story's taking. I love how it's able to capture my attention and shift completely and focus on a whole different character. And I'm still interested and then kind of bring me back in and say, hey, this is still that kind of same story. It's just at a different time. So Claire's backstory gets explored a lot in this volume, which is 3, and it's done really well. Now, volume 4 takes a pretty big push forward as far as the story here, in my opinion. We see a lot more of Claire and Teresa's relationship develop, which is pretty cool. And then I forgot to show the cover. This is the cover of volume 4. You can kind of see it there. And also real quick, the Claymore organization reminds me a lot of like John Wick, kind of. The Claymores have laws and these things that they have to follow. And if they don't, other Claymores are set and assigned to basically hunt down the other Claymores. It's kind of like an organization where one member does something wrong, the other members have to hunt down that member. Kind of reminds me of John Wick in like a weird way. It also reminds me a little bit of My Hero in the sense that the Claymores are ranked on a number scales, like the number 1 Claymore is the strongest and so on and so forth, right? Just like how My Hero has like the number 1 hero and whatever. I don't know, just felt kind of similar in these weird vibes as far as the organization goes, so that's just pretty cool. But anyway, this volume is really good. It's all about pretty much Teresa being hunted by other Claymores because she broke a law, being that you can't kill a human, you can only kill the Yoma, and she kind of had to, so it's this weird thing where she didn't technically really do anything wrong, but she still did something wrong. So it's this weird like morality test, and she's being hunted while she's with Claire. You can kind of see there by the cover. And this volume also just cements that Claire is insane. Like she's just so OP, bro. Like she's no joke. She's not to play with. She's really powerful here, and it showcases it really well. Now, volume 5 is honestly probably my favorite, and you can kind of see here the cover art for it there. Volume 5 is probably my favorite volume so far. We get a ton of action, honestly probably the most action we've gotten so far. We also learn of Teresa's final fate in this story, and it's just cool to see Claymores having to fight other Claymores. It's just this weird thing where it's kind of like a versus mirror match, but different because there's obviously different fighting levels and different characters, so it's really cool and it's interesting, and I do like it a lot. We also get to learn a lot more about Claire's kind of motivation moving forward and kind of why she became a Claymore in the first place. We also learn that some of these stronger Yoma are actually awakened Yoma, which is kind of basically they reach their max level as far as monster vibes go, so they're awakened is what they're called when they're fully at that level. And we bounce back to Claire when she's grown, like how the story starts off with, and we actually learn that Claire is the weakest Claymore. Actually, currently right now she's the weakest one, which is crazy because we've been kind of shown that she's pretty strong, but she can still be taken down. But we get confirmation here she is by far the lowest tier member in the Claymore organization, so that's just really sad. Poor Claire. And it's just kind of another example of Claymore subverting my expectations. We expect and think that our MC has to be at least high tier or mid tier. She's dog shit tier, bro. Like they clown her for being the lowest rank, and it's low-key sad. Like, how are they gonna do my girl Claire like that, you know? We also get our first look at an awakened male Yoma, which is actually, they dive a little bit further into that. They actually explain the whole awakened Yoma even further, because the reason why all Claymores are women is because men, I guess they can't like suppress the urges and stuff like that of the Yoma blood inside them, so they just end up turning full on Yoma. They explain that those men that were Claymore at some point actually are the awakened ones, and any awakened Yoma is or was a Claymore at some point that basically got 100% monster vibes and can't control themselves anymore. We also get one of the most intense battle scenes we've seen yet. I feel like I say that about every volume, but this one truly is the most intense out of the series so far. Teresa is one of my favorite characters in this series. I hope we get a little bit more on her. I hope we do get to see more backstory maybe with her. I don't know. And that's where volume 5 leaves us off on. I think volume 6 is going to continue with the battle that volume 5 ends off with, just like how 2 did with 3. But that's my review on volume 5. Overall, man, I love Claymore so far. It's a really fun read. It's engaging. I like the MC a lot, if I'm honest. Just having a dope woman lead is unique, and I find it really attractive in this book because we kind of get a different perspective and look at everything. And thankfully the women in here aren't like sexually used or as far as like just love interests or anything like that, which is good. I hate when just women characters are introduced purely to be the love interest to a male character and there's a plot device. Here they're full-blown characters with great backstory and details given, so I like that a lot. The Claymore organization has a ton of secrets that hopefully get revealed to us later on, so I'm excited to read further and kind of dive deeper into what the Claymores actually really do and purposes and kind of who's behind the Claymores in general. The action in the series is awesome. The writing is awesome. There's so much to love about this series, so I'm just really excited to dive further in. And also the artwork being really easy to follow during the battle scenes is really dope. That's why I tend to watch battle shonen anime versus reading the manga, just because the mangas are always kind of hard to follow what's going on in the fight scenes. And speaking of anime, I know Claymore does have an anime. I have not seen anything about it. I don't know about it. So if you've seen the anime, is it just as good as the manga? Is it better? Should I avoid it entirely? Let me know, because I am actually really interested to watch it. I've seen like posters and it looks pretty cool, but the Berserk anime posters look really cool and everyone hates those. So let me know if you've seen it. But either way, the writing here is done really well. It subverts my expectations in a way that's not dissatisfying or annoying or just stupid. It makes sense for the story and I like it. Claymore's awesome. This first 5 volumes have honestly kicked ass so far. I'm really hyped to finish up the series eventually and drop a full review for you guys so I can get my full thoughts on it and kind of just get the series done, because I actually do really like it. Either way, subscribe so you guys can see my full review on the series eventually when I do post it. And thanks for watching and have a good one.